and we're ready to bring them in. We really don't have anywhere in the show where we talked about last night's game and what our thoughts were. I think we can do that with DeQuell as we bring them in, because I think it's worth at least. I mean, it was somewhat of a surprise. Yeah, I think the outcome. Without 4 turnovers, it's probably a 5-touchdown victory. Right. Mm-hmm. And they were fluky turnovers. It's not like they were Bills' mistakes.
It's an interesting game.
DeQuell Jackson, the most interesting man in the world, Captain Jack. Welcome back to the program. We missed you. It's been 3 weeks since you've been
here. There he is.
There he is.
I thought he was going to be on a gondola.
That would have been good.
What's up, fellas?
How you doing?
How was Italy?
Oh, it was amazing. I ate like crazy. I drank a lot of great wine. One thing about the trip, we had a lot of great. I didn't have a bad meal there for 2 weeks. I didn't have a bad meal. It was absolutely great. We were on boats for half the time. We were partying the other time, and just a great time. Great time. We actually slept like 10 hours a night, which was crazy.
Wow.
But yeah, that's
Look
us
at that.
in Sardinia, just having fun. We were 2 kids, just having fun, just the 2 of us without any distractions from the little one. So it was a well needed vacay.
He is the most interesting man in the world. Yeah, well needed. His last vacation was a whole 4 weeks before that. Yeah. So imagine the exhaustion.
Can I add one thing here real quick?
Go ahead, Mikey.
So DeQuell, we have Director Steve's out this week, so we got Director Mike in. And I'm like, all right, DeQuell's ready. He goes, DeQuell's not there. He didn't understand the chair turn.
He didn't get the bit.
He doesn't know. It's chair turn, baby. Welcome to the show.
Wasn't ready.
Director Mike's not watching the show.
Director Mike needs to watch every single episode.
And speaking of Steve, we got to come up with a collection pot for him for Christmas to get him an iPhone. Because I tried to send him a video the other day, and it would not go through. And
different Steve, DeQuell.
That's our coordinating producer.
I think that Steve does not have an iPhone either.
No.
Oh, yeah, I don't think Brad does either. You don't have an iPhone.
He has a flip phone on his belt.
Oh, Brad has an iPhone. Who else does? No, Mike doesn't have an iPhone. It's Mike, not Brad.
I don't have an iPhone.
Mike uses a BlackBerry, the last one in America.
The BlackBerry?
Yeah, he's still rocking the BlackBerry.
You don't have to react like that to DeQuell Jackson.
The worst part is when you get the green, right? You get the green. I hate the green.
Before we get into the Browns, and there's so much to get there to, we really don't have a spot in the show to talk about what happened last night. What was your takeaway?
Well, I only watched the first half, to be honest with you. I'm still kind of jet lagged right now, so I was actually in bed by 9 o'clock.
Wow.
But I did see the highlights of it. And I definitely saw the horrible throw from
Stafford.
Jesus Christ, Matthew Stafford, when on an out route, a classic out route, he threw it right to the defender, and that's probably where I probably fell asleep at that point. But I saw the highlights this morning, and wow, Buffalo came out ready to play. I mean, everyone thought there's a lot of people that have Buffalo on their list to play in the Super Bowl, and they came out and showed it. I saw the highlight of Stephon Diggs at the end against a great corner who was sleeping. He was in cover 3 coverage. He has to be deeper than the deepest, and just lack of concentration, lack of focus. Something that you would expect from other guys, not just star guys. And I think in the end, the Rams, their stars didn't play because they're so top heavy. They invested heavily into guys in star roles, and the first game, everyone's not clicking on all cylinders, but none of their stars played at a star level and started their role. And the Buffalo Bills came out with a purpose. They came out and set a tone. And I mean, it wasn't even close from the game I saw, to be honest.
Something I thought I'd never see, DeQuell, was a guy catching a touchdown on Ramsey who actually tripped and fell. And he still caught the touchdown. But that's how much separation he had. And you're right. Mm-hmm. But based on the way Jalen Ramsey looked at times last year, late in the season, and what we saw last night, I think it's fair to start at least asking the question, has he lost his fastball a little bit? And I know it might not be physical, it might be up here, but he was in the wrong place at the wrong time too many times.
Yeah, and for a cornerback, cover 3, that's what you want. You have a third of the field, and there was no other route, that would take his eyes away from his responsibility.
It looked like he was peeking into something in the middle of the field short, but that's not even his area, is it?
Yeah, he's a vet. You have to do your job first and then and then see where your eyes and the quarterbacks take you. But and not only that, you have Stephon Diggs.
Right.
Stephon Diggs, this wasn't a regular guy. This is Stephon Diggs, one of the top receivers in the league, and you take your eyes off of him. Yeah. I know he has an elite athletic ability, but no one's that good. Good on good. if you don't have the right mechanics, the right discipline, that's what's going to happen. And unfortunately, the Rams came up short. And obviously, one game doesn't dictate their season. I'm sure those guys will play better next week against Atlanta. But last night just wasn't a good outing by the defending Super Bowl champions.
DeQuell, let's get into the Browns here. I'm sure you probably didn't see Mary Kay's article this morning with some quotes from Myles Garrett.
I read them.
Oh, you did read it? Okay.
Yeah.
So G and I have been saying for a while, Myles Garrett don't like Baker Mayfield. They were pissed. They were pissed when he spoke out of turn about Myles Garrett hitting Mason Rudolph with the helmet. The team didn't like that he quit on them. They felt like he quit on them in the final game of last year. I think there's clearly bad blood here, and that just boils this up even more. Does the off-the-field stuff, does the Baker talking last week in the T-shirt, does Myles' comments, does this stuff matter in the locker room or no?
I mean, they're going to tell us it doesn't matter, but for a guy like Myles Garrett, when the Mason Rudolph incident happened and when your star quarterback goes on national television and basically takes the side of the opponent, I still have a problem with that. And Myles Garrett should have had a problem with it. And I read the article of when Baker Mayfield was traded, he reached out to Myles Garrett. Myles Garrett didn't know what to say. Obviously, that rift, that beef, whether we can blow it up or not, there's something there. And Myles Garrett, I don't blame him. I'm like, that's cardinal rule number one you don't do in the locker room. Whether you know all the facts or not, if you're asked about an incident that clearly isn't who Myles Garrett is, it took some explosive language, as he, using his words, for him to react that way. You don't automatically side with the other team. You say, you know what, I'll wait until I get all the facts, but he's my guy. I know the character of my teammate, and right now I have nothing more to say about it. Right. But instead, he took the other route. And as a player in the locker room, listen, whether you're right, wrong, or indifferent, I'm on your side until I know the facts. But I'm not going to publicly go and condemn you about something that you don't have all the facts about. And I think from that moment on, Myles Garrett was like, you know what? You're not helping us win. You're not the reason why you're helping us win. We have a championship roster, and you're the reason that this team is being held back. So this weekend, Jadeveon Clowney, all the D-line, I know those guys are putting hat in the pot. Who's the first one to touch Baker Mayfield? In the box. And because it's going to be a party. It's going to be a party behind the line of scrimmage. Because playing a guy like him who had this T-shirt, I'm finally off the leash. What leash? What leash? Well, the Cleveland Browns were hampered by your play. If you could do more from the quarterback position, you had Jarvis Landry. You had a tight end, arguably, they went and paid that the organization thinks you were probably the reason he didn't reach his potential. And then you had Odell Beckham Jr. And you had a two-headed monster in the backfield. You had everything you possibly could have and want as a quarterback to get the job done, and you didn't. Instead, they traded you away for a guy who was under all type of scrutiny and criminal proceedings. They went out and invested in him as opposed to keeping you and trading, but they decided to trade you away. So all this extra stuff off the field, man, those guys in the locker room, they cannot wait until that whistle blows to touch a piece of his jersey, because it's going to be a party behind that line of scrimmage.
Tell them about this. Tell them about what is the captain's meeting at midfield. Tell them about that, DeQuell, how that happens.
Listen. If I'm on the Browns, that's a moment where, you know what, this whole friend stuff, this whole beef, all that, it's over with. I don't care. I don't care anything about you right now. I'm providing for my family. I'm providing for myself. I'm trying to make sure you realize, I'm going to make you realize you were the reason why we didn't get over the hump. And at the oh my gosh. Like, I've been thrown out. Hey, Brad, I'll tell you a true story. In college, this is how serious the captain's meeting at midfield is. I got thrown out by a guy named Ron Cherry because I was talking so much smack to the other guy who I know, who I didn't like. They kicked me out. So it gets serious up there. You just don't hear a lot about it.
Face-off circle in hockey.
Yeah, the guy kicked me out. He's like, Jackson, you got to get the heck out of here. You got to go.
You got to go.
Word.
You got to go.
And he kicked me out of midfield at the coin toss. So, but it's serious.
Yeah.
How was Sunday's game decided? What wins this game for either team?
For me, the Cleveland turnovers, and I feel like the Cleveland Browns defense are going to come to play. because even, for beginning of the season, we look at the Rams, right? We watched them, how they were kind of inept. They didn't really use all their weapons. They had brought on Allen Robinson, was a guy that you thought would make an immediate impact. Offenses aren't clicking on all cylinders right away. So if you have a defense that's familiar with each other, that is one more year in the scheme, they're communicating more. The only blatant hole they have is at the D tackle position, which you can overcome when you have a Jadeveon Clowney, Myles Garrett, Denzel Ward, and your slew of defensive backs. So I think it comes down to defense. I don't think it's going to be a high-scoring game, yet I do think it's going to be a dominant performance by the Cleveland Browns defense, because they know Baker Mayfield, they know his tendencies. You better believe those guys in the defensive back room, they know what his weaknesses are. And Baker Mayfield likes to think he's a better athlete than he really is. And Myles Garrett and those guys, they understand that. So they're going to need interior penetration. So Myles Garrett, Jadeveon Clowney can use their athletic ability to run him down and have a party on Baker Mayfield.
And Garrett gets a rookie, DeQuell.
What's that?
And Garrett gets a rookie lining up against him.
Even better. And they have a revamped offensive line, the Carolina Panthers. So this isn't a sure thing from the Carolina Panthers standpoint. And all the noise Baker's been making about his former team, guys are listening. They're paying attention to it. They may not tell us when the microphone's in their face, but you better believe you're already juiced up for the first game of the season because you want to get off to a good start. This only adds more fuel to the fire. And Baker Mayfield, I hate to say it, he's talking more than his plan, his production will be. And he's basically putting his foot in his mouth once again. And I don't see him coming out having a great game and making us scratch our head. Oh, well, was it? Did we make the right decision to get rid of him? No. I don't.
But he's
think
off the leash, you guys. He's off the
leash.
He's
off the leash.
That leash we had him on when we let him play with a broken shoulder all season last year.
And then the comments about him gonna F up the Browns. Come on, man. Are you serious?
Hey, man,
are you kidding me?
I got a T-shirt that says "We dropped the anchor." I'm gonna ask you. This is a very important question. After the game, does Baker Mayfield give Kevin Stefanski to Hugh Jackson? Psych. Will he shake Kevin Stefanski's hand? I guarantee it's going to be a hit.
No chance if he loses.
Right, if he wins.
Right. I was just going to say, if he wins, if for some godly reason the Carolina Panthers wins, and Baker Mayfield's going to try to shake everyone's hand, everyone. But if they lose, listen, and it's a dominant performance by the Browns defense, and he has a horrible game, I see his immaturity rising to the surface again, and him having a small handshake and running the heck out of the stadium, and not, wanting to, revisit with old friends and what have you. I think it all is predicated on whether he wins or loses. I don't see his maturity level, shaking Stefanski's hand, and definitely not Myles Garrett or any of those guys on the defense if he plays poorly. But it's all predicated on whether or not he wins the game or not.
DeQuell, I saw yesterday that Christian McCaffrey had to miss practice on Wednesday with a shin injury. I mean, here he is. Their hopes rest on Christian McCaffrey.
No doubt.
What do you see them getting out of him? I know it's impossible to predict injury, but it isn't unfair to ask if this guy can stay healthy after what we've seen the last two seasons.
Yeah, well, I mean, he's MVP caliber, without a doubt, when he's healthy. You put the ball in his hands, similar to the situation Baker Mayfield just left from. So he's right back in a situation where McCaffrey is the guy. If he's ready to go, if he's healthy enough to put on that helmet, strap up, lace up, the ball's going to be in his hand. Because they paid this guy a lot of money, and he hasn't really been on the field the last few years. The injury bug is really, is on him right now, so he needs to shake it. So they're going to do whatever they can while he's healthy to maximize his touches and get him the ball. And again, if he's not available, Baker Mayfield, we're going to see you dropping back.
Sunday if he
30,
can't.
40,
He'll play.
But just to clarify, he didn't miss practice. He
was held out.
Okay.
Is what I read. I was ready. He was held out.
He was a full participant.
Yesterday. Wednesday, I read he held out.
He said he's 100% ready to go.
No, he didn't miss practice.
I got a report yesterday that said he was a holdout on Wednesday, was expected to be a full participant yesterday.
No,
and then
he
I saw
wasn't even on
last night.
the injury report Wednesday.
Yeah, I've got an email that he was on an injury report. I can send it to you.
Well, but DeQuell.
It's supposed to rain on Sunday,
Yeah.
so that could change some things as well.
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it will change some things.
No doubt.
Imagine being such a delicate player that we're like, it might rain and you might get injured.
Hey,
Well, he's missed a lot of
you're
time.
Panthers fans,
I know.
You're looking at he's your season.
He's missed a
He's
lot
your
of
team.
time the last 2 years. DeQuell, I want to get to the linebackers, your specialty here, because I don't know. Do you have any relationship with JOK or any of the linebackers on the Browns? Have you talked with them at all? Or
Just briefly when I was there in the offseason, just briefly, but nothing more than that.
obviously, he's like JOK is such like a new breed of linebacker, right? He's like, he doesn't really look like a linebacker, I guess. He's kind of small, but he is an immense talent. Like, I think he's going to make a huge year 2 jump. I thought he was good as a rookie, but I think he's in line to make a huge year 2 jump. Am I out of line, or do you think that's like?
Yeah, no, you're spot on. I think this is when you start to see him sink into his role of having one role that he can star in, and that's playing the linebacker position. Obviously, in college, he played multiple positions. They moved him around, and so the first year, you're a deer in headlights. You don't know what the hell is going on.
Right.
But this year, I'm sure with his athletic ability, you're going to see him make some plays. If I'm the defensive coordinator, the guy is so versatile. I want to see him play behind the line. I want to see him blitz more. I want to see just what he can do, because we all know he can run sideline to sideline. But he's definitely a guy alongside Anthony Walker. If he listens to Anthony Walker, he can get the brains from him and apply his physical ability and to actually be able to take over games. So I'm definitely looking forward to him seeing what his jump looks like, seeing how he responds, just how he gets off blocks, because you're right. He's not the biggest guy in the world. He looks like a DB, but he's tough enough. He's proven he's tough enough to play inside of the trenches. And he can also, listen, when I played, I didn't want to, if I didn't have to touch those guys, I avoided them the best way I could, because my job was to get the guy with the ball. So if he can understand how to manipulate the bigger guys in front of him with his athletic ability, I think you're going to see him take massive jumps this year. And listen, if that happens, this defense already, in my opinion, is a top 5 defense. Arguably could be the best defense if they can stay healthy.
Right,
if a guy like JOK can stay healthy and take that next step, this could be a dangerous, dangerous team, even without Deshaun Watson while he's out.
Even where they've been hit by injury in the past, which has been the corners, just the defensive backfield, you're almost to the point now with Emerson coming in, and Delpit's going to give you something, and Greedy is a guy that's going to give you something. I feel comfortable now, even with the risk of injury, that they've got the depth to fill in those holes where the last couple of years they really didn't, and it showed. Right. This year, I think they're really solid on the back, on the front ends up front. If you're looking at this Browns defense and you're on the other side, where are you poking holes? How are you going to attack the Browns defense?
It's scary. I think you got to use how the Buffalo Bills attack, Aaron Donald and those guys. Really quick throws, getting the ball out of your hand, not really letting those pass rushers, Jadeveon Clowney and Myles Garrett, pin their ears back and try to stay on track and not getting those third and longs, those second and longs. When that happens, that's when the play call sheet for your defensive coordinator becomes very easily. So if I'm attacking those guys, I'm going to try to hit those guys with some sort of hurry up defense, so those guys don't have time to look at my formation, look at motions, and try to keep them off balance. I think you'll probably see a little bit of that from the Carolina Panthers, because they know what they're up against. They're up against a really good defense that's probably far along than the Carolina Panthers offense. So how do you do that? How do you attack, you want to attack them left-handed where you want to keep them off track, where it's no hurry, really quick throws, get those guys tired so they're constantly running on and off the field, and see how you can move the ball that way, and hopefully you get what you want from a point standpoint. But there's no really blaring holes in this defense. And you're right. Listen, I love the fact that they have a slew of defensive backs, because it creates competitive energy, because if one guy gets injured, the next guy is looking at, this is my opportunity to be the guy. And you talked about Emerson. I thought he was a great addition this year. He's a big, tall corner that clearly can compete. So this is a backfield. Again, if our defensive backfield, if they can stay healthy, they can be really, really good down the stretch when this team needs them the most.
DeQuell, are we going to see Kareem Hunt and Nick Chubb actually featured like they're superstars or featured like they're the top of the food chain at their position. You know, it's just frustrating to know. I get it. If you're gonna tell me, hey, look, man, we can't go out to eat right now. We ain't got it. But if you're gonna at least take me to McDonald's, I need at least 6, 7 double cheeseburgers and some fries and a milkshake. If you ain't got your receivers, at least get me full of what you got. Give me the running game. Are we gonna see them?
Man, you would hope so. With again, you know, offenses. I'll say this again: like offenses aren't where they need to be right now. And as a play caller, you got to lean on the guys that are stars, and that's Nick Chubb and Kareem Hunt. And I know there's been rumors about him not wanting to be there because he has to, you know, now it's creeping up. Now it's about money. I want to get paid. I want to be featured. I want to be the guy. You know, now you have to deal with those type of things. And early on, again, take the pressure off of Jacoby Brissett. You know, lean on those guys. And if Stefanski has a package where both of those guys are on the field, it'll be about damn time. You know, this is the time to do it. This is the time to do it and feature these guys and see who you have. Why not? If you're thinking about getting rid of Kareem Hunt at some point, see what he can do. See what he can do. You know what Nick Chubb is. He's a consummate pro. You know what you're going to get with him. Let's use this guy, especially while, you know, your face of the franchise, essentially, and Deshaun Watson isn't around, to take pressure off Jacoby Brissett. I think it's very easy. I wouldn't overthink it. And I think this year or this game, maybe, we see 2 back sets with both of those guys on the field. I mean, it's an obvious thing to do, right?
Well,
I want to see Kansas City Kareem.
Right. You make a good point here.
Right.
Because we have weapons here. And one of my fears here is that we are sometimes trying to prove that we're the smartest people in the room. Don't have to be. Just use what you got, right? Yeah. And here, you got Jacoby Brissett here that you want to bring along slowly. You have other horses. It's time to deploy your horses now, right? So I'm looking forward on Sunday to see if we are not trying to outthink everybody and sometimes just smash in the mouth. When Ohio State got in trouble last weekend with Notre Dame, they fooled around and it became Air Ohio State, which is not that's not who you are.
Ryan's done that a lot.
That's not who you are.
No.
I see you run this ball and that frees up the other thing, right? I know the other thing is sexy, but the one is bread and butter. So when you got Hunt and Chubb in the background, use that puppy.
Yeah. You know the
I tell you what, it's going to be, even though we say it's not rocket science, it's really very simple. Coaches have big egos, and they want to see what they can do and what they can get away with, what things look like. You know, if we open, you know, we come out in a five wide set, no running back on the field. We want to open things up. They want things to look pretty. No, let's go win the damn game.
Right. Yeah.
How about that? Let's go win the damn game and rely on the guys you invested in to win games like this. It's very simple in my opinion.
DeQuell, we talked about the last couple of days about, you know, taking the ball, or the coin toss these days. Normally teams want to play defense in the first half, get the ball in the second half. Jay suggested the other day he's a little worried about Baker driving down the field, so he wants to see the offense get on the field first. You have a preference if the Browns win the toss?
Well, if I'm Kevin Stefanski, knowing what everything that we talked about, if we win the toss, we want to defer. We want Baker Mayfield on the field first. We want to put the pressure on him. We want our defense, the unit that's going to carry us right now. We want to. I'm feeding that to him all week. When I was in Indy and when I was in other play, and even when I was with Ray Horton here with the Browns, we would play teams. They would motivate us all week. Hey, listen, we're going to defer. If we lose the toss, we're going defense first. And I'm sure if I'm Kevin Stefanski, that's the smart move to make. Let your defense go out there and set the tone early with Baker Mayfield, so he starts to question himself and question whether or not he should have made the off-the-leash T-shirt and made all these comments off the record or what have you. Start your defense first in this case. But in any other game, I'd have no preference, to be honest with you.
Really?
This
I'm
game,
surprised.
Yeah, I have no preference.
Because the trend is just you defer. I mean, it used to be the other way around. The trend was, teams always took the ball. And then Bill Belichick decided that he was going to buck the trend and he was going to defer until the second half. And now everybody does it because everybody follows Bill's lead. My only thinking on that was if you're at home, I would definitely go that route. But this Carolina fan base who's watched this team just toil in mediocrity the last 5 years, 3 years in particular. I think they've won 5 games each of the last 3 years. I don't want to electrify them, and I always look at worst case scenario. I don't think that's going to happen. I don't think that, but I do know in Baker's history, he has looked great in first drives many times. And then I'm asking myself the rest of the game, where the hell was the Baker we saw in that first drive? Where did he go? So my fear is, and I'm sure Stefanski won't coach off of fear, but as a fan watching, to me, the one thing I do not want to see is Baker have a 7-minute, 80-yard touchdown drive, and Carolina's crowd base just got doused with vodka, and now they're really on fire.
Right. Yeah, that's why we play this game, because you make a great point. I didn't think about that. That's a great point, but I'm still sticking to my guns. I'm allowing Myles Garrett, Jadeveon Clowney, Denzel Ward, all these guys. It's on you guys to shut this guy up, and that's my message all week, no matter where we're playing, because it's Baker Mayfield. Right. Because he's disrespecting me as a head coach. He's disrespecting you all off the leash. This is personal. Whether or not I want to admit it or not, this is personal, and I want my team to know this is personal. So I'm leaning on you guys to back me up on this, and go out and shut his behind out.
It'd be funny. It'd be funny if Stefanski told Myles Garrett, "Hey, we're going to take the ball first if we win the coin toss," and then the Browns win it, and Myles looks over at Stefanski and looks over at Baker and says, "We're going on defense." we want to see him right now.
See, DeQuell, you from Baltimore area. I want him to go tell Myles Garrett, in the words of the great Avon Barksdale, "Strang, it ain't about that business. It's about that other thing."
I hear you loud and clear.
What's your prediction on the game? What's the final score? You see it high scoring, low scoring, close, blowout?
I think it won't be a high-scoring game. I say the Browns 24, Panthers 10, and I think they score. The Panthers score late when the Browns are playing kind of a prevent defense to kind of run the clock out. But I
that's
think
our biggest spread, isn't it, guys?
It is.
I don't think anybody's predicted a 2-touchdown win.
That's crazy.
But hopefully you flex next week when you're on the show. McNuggets has to ask us a question here.
Yeah, DeQuell, usually I ask offbeat questions. I have a real football question here. You talked all lead up here that you wanted to see Jacoby Brissett play in the preseason, and we saw a little bit of him in the third game. But what's a realistic expectation here for Jacoby Brissett against the Panthers defense that forced a lot of turnovers last season?
Yeah, I don't see, if he has to throw the ball more than 30 times a game, we're in trouble. So I would say his stat line, if he throws the ball, let's say 15 to 20 times, let's say just over 200 yards, a touchdown, no interceptions, I'll take that any day.
That's
that
a
means
win.
He's efficient.
I think that's a win.
I think it adds to a win, and we're running the ball, and he's making efficient throws, and Kevin Stefanski keeps his plan the plan, and they don't deviate from it. And I think that's with Jacoby Brissett, not leaning on him too much and not putting yourself in that position. But I think the running game is going to should have an above average day on the ground if this team is going to win and obviously score 24 points. I think Nick Chubb, Kareem Hunt, and along with Brissett really showing that he can manage the weapons around him and not blow a game, knowing that he has a really good, decent weapons on the outside that hadn't proved themselves a ton, but he's able to make those guys better because of his veteran leadership.
Thanks, DeQuell.
One more thing, DeQuell, before you go. Aside from the games that you played in, has there ever been a season-opening game that you've looked forward to more than this one?
That's a great question.
There hasn't been for me. This is it. As a Browns fan, this is the biggest season opener I can ever remember. I can't wait.
Yeah, this has big storylines. I can't think of anything when I play, but that's a great question. I think this is the biggest storyline. Everyone's going to be tuned in to see how Baker Mayfield plays, how the Browns respond, what Kevin Stefanski's offense is going to look like, and because you don't want to start that narrative. You don't want Baker Mayfield to start. You need to win this game. These first 4 weeks are going to be very crucial for the Browns as they get past and move into deep in the season before they can, get Deshaun Watson back, and we'll see what he does and cross that bridge when he's back in town and throwing footballs and leading this football team.
Yeah.
So,
Captain Jack, raise a glass to a Browns victory.
Absolutely.
Raise the glass, my friend.
I love that was off camera the whole time.
Yeah.
Oh, he always keeps it.
I know.
He got
Always keep it ready.
That's right.
Welcome home, young man.
He got a drip IV.
Hey, now just so everybody knows, DeQuell, 3 weeks from now, will not be with us because he's going to Paris on vacation, because by then he's really going to need it.
But
he's going to be exhausted.
wait.
That's not true, by the way. That's not true.
Big news, DeQuell is in studio next Friday.
Oh, yeah!
Yes.
Vacation's
I'll be there.
There
And
we
then
go.
on Saturday, he
there.
goes up into a spaceship with Elon Musk.
That would be cool.
I wouldn't count
With
him
some
out.
Balvenie.
I wouldn't count him out.
Balvenie
DeQuell,
whiskey.
Bye.
enjoy the game. We'll see you in studio next Friday.
Nice.
That's
All
going
right,
to be
you
fun.
got it,
All right,
fellas.
well.
The